Kaizen is a Japanese philosophy of continuous improvement, which is what we strive to do here on Unleash Your Audacious Confidence. We strive for continuous improvement. So if that's you and you're interested in that, stick around for our guest as we talk today about Kaizen. Welcome to Unleash Your Audacious Confidence on Win-Win Women TV. This show is all about sharing the tips, tools, and techniques that will allow you to step boldly in the direction of your dreams, despite your feelings, fears, or past failures, to imagine what's possible for yourself and live the life you deserve. Well. Welcome to this episode of Unleash Your Audacious Confidence here on Win-Win Women TV. I'm your host, Alicia Couri, and today is going to be a really special show. I just know it. But before we get to the meat and potatoes of today, I want to invite you to check out winwinwomen.com. Win-Win Women has some incredible opportunities for women to not just learn more from other show hosts like me. We have a slate of channels and shows that you can just really learn and grow from. But also there are local events that are held globally. So you could be living in a place where they're organized local events for Win-Win Women that you can get together with other women and build community, because we're all about community here on Win-Win Women TV. And so I invite you to check that out. And if you want to be a show host, if you feel like you've got something to share with the world as a woman, and you would like to start your own show here on Win-Win Women TV, just go to our website, redcarpetceo.com. And when you scroll up, you'll see the logo for Win-Win Women, and just click on that logo and it'll take you to a page where you can sign up to be your own host of a show. You can have your own show, and you can get more information there as well on hosting your own show. So with that said, now let's get to our guest. We're going to talk about aligning yourself for success with our amazing guest, Leslie Tankersley Arboleda. Yay! I think I got that right, Leslie.
You did. You did it perfect.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Well, today I want to really start from, what does misalignment look like? And then we can get into what alignment really looks like. So as a coach, someone who works with people on that, share with us what misalignment looks like.
I use a variety of ways to kind of help people figure that out, because I'm a big believer in reverse engineering your goals, right? So you got to know what you don't want in order to know what you do want. And one of my favorite tools is a system of self-understanding called human design. And we talk about the pain points in human design as the cues for where we're feeling misaligned. So when you're feeling angry, when you're feeling frustrated, when you're feeling bitter or disappointed, those are usually the cues to notice your misalignment and the magical clues to where you're making those misaligned choices and how to refocus.
I love human design. So just share a little bit about your background and what your expertise is in, just for our audience.
Sure. My education is in human development and family studies. So I originally thought I wanted to be a preschool teacher, until I realized I won't be hungry and frustrated myself for the rest of my life. So 2 to 5-year-olds are definitely still some of my favorite folks in the world. But turns out at halfway to 96, I also really enjoy working with adults. So I used to say in my late 20s, I'm overeducated and underexperienced, and I have kind of shifted the balance a little bit. So I've got an MBA in marketing, which is where my business background comes from. And then I thought school was so much fun, I went back for one more degree and got a master's in counseling psychology. So my experience really seems rather dichotomous, business and psychology, but being able to marry an understanding of how our brains are serving us and then show up to support entrepreneurs it's been such a gift for me to figure out this is really where I can show up as my expert self. And development, is an important part of who we are as human beings, whether we're 4 or 44 or 84. And family systems is a beautiful foundation for me to really kind of translate for entrepreneurs, small businesses, and large businesses. Like, what is the health of the system? Where are things feeling askew? And what is the one thing that we could shift over here that's going to make a huge difference over here?
I love that. And I wanted to make sure I shared or you at least shared your qualifications for the conversation that we're having to kind of frame that and give a foundation for that, because we had a brief conversation about this, and human design really does help us understand from a foundational level how we are meant to operate in this world. Turnover. It's incredibly expensive for any organization, but especially those that are small and mid-size. If you're an organization and you're hiring, it's so important to get it right. You need to identify the right people for the right roles. Here at Audacious Concepts, Inc., we help you perfect your hiring process so you get it right every single time. Reach out to us at audaciousconceptsinc.com, right?
I like it. Sorry, I was
No, go
saying,
ahead.
I like it because it helps us really understand what our unique strengths are. And then we get to go out into the world and figure out how to show up as our best selves.
Mm-hmm. And then you also talk about Kaizen, which is a system of continuous improvement.
Mhm.
So marrying your degrees, marrying your knowledge of human design, your spirituality, and also this idea that we should be focusing on continuous improvement, not about reaching any specific, like Shangri-La, like, oh, I'm here and everything will be wonderful. It's like, no, we're all stepping into that next level of who we need to be to accomplish that next goal, right?
Yeah, and I think right here, right now is the Shangri-La. I think that's actually the secret. Spoiler alert, right? Like, it's not out there and it's not later. It's right here and it's right now. And whatever version of us is showing up is, I truly believe everybody in this world is doing the best they can with the resources they have in the moment. And sometimes that doesn't look really pretty, and sometimes it could definitely show up with an opportunity for improvement. But it really is always our best effort. And we're never not doing what we want to do. And so when we're feeling dissatisfied or unsuccessful or misaligned in some way, I feel like that's not an opportunity to judge ourselves, right? We're not going to shit on ourselves. We're not going to make ourselves wrong for not doing it right, as it were, but be able to use that as feedback. When I'm a big fan of failure, and I know that sometimes is a little confronting for
Oh,
folks,
me too.
but that's where the learning is happening. That's the feedback that we can use to be better versions of ourselves. And Kaizen was a concept I learned in business school, and I had a professor at one point who came to me. He was like, "What exactly are you doing here?" Because I definitely was not the typical student in an executive MBA program with a real goal, and like it was not a means to an end. For me, it truly was just another opportunity to explore a part of education that really felt aligned for me in some kind of intuitive way. And Kaizen, to me at the time, I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." It kind of like was a little put a little pin in it, and then fast forward 20 years, I was like, oh, that's actually what it is. Like, this true pursuit of being a better version of ourselves or having a better expression of our business, that's not a judgment indicating that you're not doing it right. That's an opportunity to see how you could do it better. And so my business, Kaizen Living, is really, I kind of rubbed a little Leslie on the concept. It's not really about the business concept. It's really more about understanding that every day that you wake up blessed to be a day older is an opportunity to do something maybe dramatically better, or maybe just a little bit better.
So you mentioned, not having judgment of self, using it as feedback, like creating that feedback loop. But so many people have challenges with looking at failure or not doing something quote unquote right, they internalize those things. I know I used to, as a child, internalize a lot of that stuff. And as an adult, I've learned differently. But sometimes we take those things from our childhood, those traumas, if you want to call them that, or those experiences from childhood, and shape it into our adulthood as that's not the right way to be. And so how can someone recognize when they're doing that based on a past failure and kind of learn how to reframe that in their own mind?
Well, I'd say the short answer is you can have a chit chat with me because
Yeah, I know.
that friend, right? I would say it requires a bit of courageous vulnerability.
Oh, I love that. Yes, courageous vulnerability.
You've
For
got to
sure.
be bold enough to even know that you want to have that conversation. And then you've got to be willing to rewrite the story, right? The personal narrative we're living is the framework of life. It's what's happening. The story we're telling ourselves about what's going on is actually what's determining the experience we're having. And if you've been telling yourself, from a developmental perspective, after the ripe old age of 7,
Right.
we're all walking around with some kind of baggage, right? We're all walking around with some kind of story that's pulled us out of alignment, that's askew from what really is bringing us that joy. And some of us are walking around with this teeny tiny tote bag, like my kids used to carry through the airport when we travel. Some of us are carrying this like
grandma's house. You got to
double sized, oversized roller bag, right? Like we've all got some baggage. And so being able to notice that you have it, number one, and then be willing to unpack it so that you can reorganize it so that it's having a different impact on you. That's where I think the magic sits, right? I'm not immune to bad stuff happening in my life. I've had some pretty significant big T traumas. I've definitely had plenty of little T traumas, and I didn't always understand the story I'm living is the result of the pen I'm holding in my hand. But I'm so grateful at this point in my journey to be able to know it for myself and also courageously and boldly have these conversations with other people. I'm sometimes a little confronting for folks, but at the end of the day, it comes from a place of love. And I can, I'm kind of hardwired to reflect back to other people that better version of themselves, the one that can be different than the one that doesn't feel good, right? Our birthright's health, joy, and abundance. And my husband likes to call me a spiritual Pollyanna, and I don't think everybody's experiencing that health, joy, and abundance.
Rose-colored glasses,
right, every minute of every day. But at the end of the day, it is ours to experience. And I do believe it really is something that we can all access if we're willing to change the story that doesn't feel good.
And it's not a lie.
It's not, and it's not that spiritual bypassing. And I'm not whitewashed. I'm not
whitewashed.
No, I'm not. It is truly an empowered perspective to know that even if bad things have gone down for 48 and a half years, today, on whatever day of the week it is, you can make a new experience for yourself. And it probably will require some practice. It definitely will be easier with an aligned community that can hold you to that higher version of yourself. But it's inside our circle of control. And that circle of control is really pretty small. But this is definitely one of those things that sits inside of it.
You said so many things there, so many great things. And one of the things I just want to pull out of that a little bit is, we're carrying this baggage from 7 years old, like child. And it's not like that's the only bag. Like we keep piling onto that bag. Like we have one story and then we keep adding to the story and we keep layering that story. And pretty soon you're carrying a duffel bag, dragging around this heavy duffel bag just off of that one story. So it's really, from what I'm hearing, and it's looking at what that foundational story was through the lens as an adult now, like almost take yourself out of the equation and look at it objectively from like a third person perspective, point of view, and look at it, because that was the child you that couldn't respond to that in a particular way. But now as an adult you, how do you see that? How can you respond to that? How can you help heal that little child from now an adult perspective that you couldn't as a little child? Is that kind of, am I feeding that back to you?
Absolutely. It's hard for a 3-year-old to really understand what's happening in the world, but that doesn't keep the 3-year-old version of us from making an interpretation. And if we're not taking responsibility for, I call it an energetic edit, we're not taking a responsibility to notice, am I just recycling the same story that I've been living in 3-year cycles for the last 50 years, right? Like that doesn't make me feel good. And where did the story come from? I have quite a few points of reference where I can say, oh, I did that for a really long time. And then when I was willing to go back and really look at it, those are stories that I inherited even, right? That transgenerational transmission, like it wasn't even a story that happened in my lifetime. It was a story that someone I trusted told me that happened in their lifetime. And then I went out and I started recycling it in my own experience. And when it wasn't bringing me joy, I was blaming the circumstances in the story instead of taking responsibility for the fact that I could truly just start telling a new story about my life experience.
That's how
it was for me.
like a brain blow, like mind explosion right there. Tell yourself a different story about that situation. Yeah, look at it through different eyes. And I think that's where empathy and compassion come in, for not just for ourselves, but for other people. Because when we recognize they're living a story that they've told themselves or someone has told them, and they're living out that story thinking that's the right thing, but in essence it's a lie, or it's a warped perception of it told from that perspective. And there is room for a different interpretation. That's all. Just leave room for a different interpretation of that. Now, how do we see misalignments in business? So you work with a lot of entrepreneurs. We've talked a little bit about human design, and I'll tell you a little story about that after you answer this question. But how do we know if we are, if our human design, if how we are, our strengths are aligned with the work that we're doing?
Short answer is, are you profitable and is it sustainable? Right? As an entrepreneur, we can find ourselves burnt out really quickly and persistently because we're doing too much of the things that aren't really serving us as a unique. My teacher taught us that we're each a unique once in a lifetime cosmic event. Like I am here to do things differently than anyone else can do. Right?
Wait. We're each a unique
once in a lifetime cosmic event.
Cosmic event. Well, that just shot me up a few rungs. Like, whoa, I think I'm getting a hot flash.
Yeah. Well, nobody can do it like you do it. Nobody can do it like I do it, right? Like we're all doing it in our own special way that nobody else can do it. So kind of like you and I were talking about pre-show, comparison can rob you of understanding the value that you uniquely bring to the world. Having said that, as entrepreneurs, especially as a one-woman show or a small team, we can find ourselves comparing with other folks that seemingly have it all figured out, have it all going on. And then we start trying to do what they're doing, or again, back to interpretation, our interpretation of how we think they're doing it. Right. And then we find ourselves depleted, under-resourced, instead of using our unique set of strengths and tools in order to be perfectly resourced. I just believe everybody's got what they need at the moment they need it. And if it doesn't feel that way, that's a cue, that's a clue on how to do things differently. So in business, if you're not profitable, why are you doing it? And if you're not sustainable, you're not going to be able to do it for very long. So those are kind of the two pillars I work with entrepreneurs is noticing, where does it not feel profitable? And if it's not in your bank account, it might be in your resource bank.
Wow. That's amazing. Yes. So I'll tell you my little story with human design. I was taking a course on branding and human design and worked through, I think it was 14 or 16 weeks of it. And in the last class, they said, if you started a business, your business has its own design. So why don't you do a chart on your business and see how aligned you are, your business chart and yourself. And boy, was I trying to live into my business's chart. My business chart was a manifesting generator. And there I was. I'm a projector. I'm a mental projector. And I was feeling depleted all the time. I was like, and when I saw that the business I created, the birth of the business that I created was a manifesting generator, I'm like, I need to put different systems in place to allow that to manifest and generate, but still allow me to be that mental projector that I am and sit kind of in that place of wisdom and not be in the doing, the generating and all the stuff. So that was like a huge, no wonder I was feeling exhausted all the time.
That's awesome. I love to hear stories like that because it is such a game changer. Again, back to that alignment, right? As a mental projector, you're not really hardwired for the persistent doing and the speediness that comes with the energy of your actual business. And just the little bit I know about the business you've created, right? It makes perfect sense. You need a team in place to be able to move at the rhythm of the business, but you personally, right? You need a different environment to feel aligned. And I think, that's a great practice to kind of run a composite between you and your business. I use it in families all the time for just that reason. Nobody's doing it wrong, but if it feels funky, there's probably some misalignment that can be corrected. Again, it's not a binary right or wrong thing. It's more about understanding how to orient you to the thing that you're in relationship with, whether it's your business, your partner, your ideal client, however it is. I tell folks all the time, I'm kind of a science geek, so I use a lot of math analogies. I was like, a circle has 360 degrees, but they all will get you to center. You just have to figure out how you want to orient yourself.
Yeah. That's fun. I love the logic of that. Yes. You can go you can start here and go the long way around, or you can go right there to there. It's up to you.
And right there to there for me is different than right there to there.
Exactly. Because we are, tell me that line again, we are a cosmic, I gotta write
unique, once in a lifetime cosmic event.
Unique, once in a lifetime cosmic event. All right, I'm retitling this show. You are a unique, once in a lifetime cosmic event. I am retitling that. So tell everyone, number one, how they can get a hold of you if they want to have a conversation with you. And also, what are you working on that people can kind of, align with or jump in on?
Sure. My business website is Kaizen Living. It's Kizen living.net. And I'm on all of the social media platforms. I'm on Facebook way too much. I'm on LinkedIn a responsible amount. But I'm pretty easy to find. My name also is how you can find me, Leslie Arboleda. And I, as I shared, for the last 6 years, I've really been working more in a one-on-one setting with individuals or families, small groups. I'm in the process. I'm really excited. I'm in the process of launching my new workplace wellness. So I have a new business that's birthing in the process, or in the process of being birthed. That's really about taking this message to the larger audiences and really helping small businesses and large businesses understand the importance of aligning the unique individuals with their strengths, with the business goals. Because again, at the end of the day, not to sound too basic, but if we ain't making money, it's a side gig. It's a fancy time-consuming hobby. If you're not profitable and if you're not sustainable, it's not something that's going to be around for generations. And I want that for folks. I want people to understand how to really embrace the legacy that they're creating without feeling burnt out and frustrated and dissatisfied with the process.
Mm-hmm. And just as you say that, it's so important because part of my own business shift is doing more curated masterminds with women to help them embody and embrace their own uh, unique, what is it, cosmic magic. Like, how do you really get to those next levels and just have these masterminds where we can really work on each other in a true mastermind. I mean, I'm part of a lot of different masterminds and they all do it differently, but from, the Think and Grow Rich mastermind, it's like really borrowing those strengths from each one. And I think as the mental projector that I am, I'm like, as they say, the wise owl, like being able to survey everything and give that wisdom. I feel like that's so aligned with who I am. And so that's what I'm cooking up too. So as you're cooking your stuff up, I'm cooking up over here as well.
I love that. I'm a manifesting generator myself, so I love me some projector energy because they help put some boundaries on my flow. They help me not be all the places doing all the things all at one time.
Yes. So I'm leaning more into that of who I am versus the being everywhere bring all places and all things to all people.
Well, and not to
Because
get too woo, but I feel like you will definitely appreciate that there's something special about the feminine energy when it comes to business, right? There's a lot of these masculine strategies that, not that I don't think Napoleon Hill didn't have a lot of great things to offer, but there's a lot of,
Right.
over amplification of that. And the divine feminine is about creating the space for what we want. So I love hearing that you're calling in these powerful women who have a message and an impact to make, and then reorienting the conversation so that we're really, empowered to be exactly what we're meant to be and not trying to be something that historically has been over amplified. I think 2024 is an awesome time to be a middle-aged woman in business, I think.
Yes, it's an awesome time. And yeah, I think I can say I'm middle-aged too. I yeah, 55 middle-aged. Yeah, I think so. I think so.
So halfway to 96. So
Halfway to 96. 100, yeah, halfway to
yeah.
100. That's where we are. So I love this. Thank you so much, Leslie. I know we this conversation has, like you said, it's divine timing because it was one time and then now it's this time and it's the perfect time for us to have this conversation. And is there anything else that you would like to share before we close out the show?
I just want to remind everyone that when you tell a story you want to live, you can live a story you want to tell, and you're holding the pen. So don't be afraid to write a new story and be the magical gift that you're here to be.
We all have the opportunity to write our own story. Really quick, last question that just came to mind because someone mentioned something to me down here in Florida. We just had those hurricanes come through, and I was saying that we are the cause of everything that's in our lives. Like we need to take responsibility because we are the cause, and then natural law creates the effect. But if we are the cause, and someone said, "Oh yeah, but if someone's in poverty or a hurricane comes, that." How could you be the cause of that? And so is there anything that you can say to frame that for someone who is saying, well, I'm in this circumstance. I didn't put myself here. How could I be, how can I rewrite that story?
I think it's important again to notice the orientation, right? We're not in control of the weather patterns and when hurricanes hit a particular part of our country or when someone we love dies or bad things happen for sure. The part that's empowering is to understand how we let that impact us and then what we do with that impact. And so it's not so much a case of we made it happen, but more from a historical past orientation, but more about what are we going to make happen as we move forward. So that would be kind of that's my intuitive kind of response to that question you just asked.
Thank you. Thank you for that. All right. Well, we are out of time, unfortunately. This has been such a marvelous conversation. The time went by way too fast. But thank you, Leslie, for being our guest today here on Unleash Your Audacious Confidence. And I want to encourage everyone here, everyone listening, everyone in the sound of my voice, to be bold, to be brave, and every day do one thing to step out with audacious confidence. And my TEDx dropped on YouTube, so go check that out. You can go to our YouTube page, our YouTube channel, Alicia Couri, or you can go to TEDx and search my name, Alicia Couri. I would love the views, and I would love to get your feedback on that. So until next time, this is Alicia saying goodbye for now on this episode of Unleash Your Audacious Confidence.